The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Kensington Palace, but Kate sat in the shadows of her private sitting room. Her hands trembled as she held the medical report. The words blurred through her tears, but their meaning was crystal clear. The diagnosis she had feared for weeks was now confirmed. She heard footsteps in the hallway, quick, purposeful steps she knew so well. Kate wiped her eyes hastily and tried to compose herself. The door opened, and William entered, his face bright with the excitement of his morning engagements. "Kate, you should have seen the children at the hospital today. There was this little boy who—" William stopped mid-sentence. His trained eye caught the subtle signs, her rigid posture, the way she held her breath, the papers she was trying to hide beneath a cushion. "What's wrong?" His voice changed instantly from cheerful to concerned. He crossed the room in 3 swift strides and knelt beside her chair. Kate looked at him, her carefully constructed mask crumbling. "I got the results back," she whispered. William's jaw tightened. They had been waiting for these test results for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of stolen glances, forced smiles at public events, and nights lying awake wondering. He gently took her hands in his. "Tell me everything," he said softly. Kate's voice broke as she explained. The specialist had found irregularities. More tests would be needed. The treatment would be long and difficult. There would be side effects. Public appearances would become challenging. The media would eventually notice. As she spoke, William's mind raced. Not with the implications for their public duties or the monarchy's image, but with one singular focus: how to protect and support his wife through this. "The doctor said I might need to step back from my duties," Kate continued, her voice barely audible. "The foundation work, the children's charities, the state dinners. I might not be strong enough." This was what hurt her most, William realized. Not the physical challenge ahead, but the thought of abandoning the causes she championed, the people who counted on her. "Listen to me," William said, his hands steady on hers. "We will face this together. Every appointment, every treatment, every difficult day. You will not be alone in this. But the press will speculate. The palace will need explanations. Your grandmother—" "Will understand," William finished firmly. "And if anyone doesn't, they'll answer to me." Kate studied his face. She saw the fear he was trying to hide, but more than that, she saw determination. The same look he had when he flew rescue missions in storms, the same steadiness that had carried them through every crisis of their marriage. "I'm scared," she admitted, something she rarely allowed herself to say aloud. "I know." William pulled her into his arms. "I'm scared, too. But we've weathered storms before. Remember when the press hounded us in the early days? Remember when George was born premature? We made it through because we faced it together." The morning dissolved into afternoon as they sat together, planning. William canceled his afternoon appointments without explanation. His private secretary would be furious, but he didn't care. Nothing mattered more than this moment, this woman, this battle. They would fight together. "We need a strategy," William said, shifting into the practical mode that Kate knew meant he was processing his emotions by taking action. "First, we get second opinions. The best specialists in London, in Europe if necessary. Second, we control the narrative. We'll be transparent when we need to be, private when we must be. Third, we protect the children. They need to understand what's happening without being frightened." Kate nodded, feeling strength return with each point of his plan. This was William at his best, turning chaos into order, fear into action. "What about your work?" she asked. "You can't put everything on hold for me." "Watch me," he replied with a fierce protectiveness that reminded her why she had fallen in love with him. "The monarchy has survived for centuries. It will survive while I take care of my wife." As the sun began to set, painting the palace walls in shades of gold and rose, they were still there, planning their battle strategy. William had moved from the floor to sit beside her on the sofa, his arm around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest. The medical report lay forgotten on the floor. "Do you remember," Kate said quietly, "at our wedding, when the Archbishop spoke about facing life's challenges together?" "In sickness and in health," William quoted softly. "I thought those were just words then. Beautiful words, but just words. And now? Now I understand they're a promise, a battle cry, a lifeline." William pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "Tomorrow we start fighting. Tonight we just be." Outside their window, London carried on its evening routines. Commuters hurried home, tourists snapped photos of the palace gates, and guards maintained their stoic watch. Inside, a future king held his wife as she faced the greatest challenge of her life, proving that even in palaces, the most important battles are fought not with ceremony and crown, but with love and quiet courage. The first stars appeared in the darkening sky, and Kate found herself thinking of all the women who would face similar battles tomorrow, next week, next year. Perhaps, she thought, there was purpose in this trial. Perhaps her journey could light the way for others. "William," she said softly. "Yes, my love. When I'm ready, when I'm strong enough, I want to use this. I want to help other women going through the same thing. I want them to know they're not alone." William tightened his embrace. "That's my Kate," he murmured, "already thinking of others. But first, we take care of you. One day at a time. One day at a time." It would become their mantra in the weeks ahead. For now, in the gathering darkness of their private sanctuary, it was enough. Tomorrow would bring challenges. Tonight brought only the comfort of shared burden and unshakable love. 3 weeks had passed since that afternoon in the sitting room. The palace, usually a place of rigid schedules and ancient protocols, had quietly reorganized itself around a new reality. William had kept his promise in ways both grand and small. The morning routine had changed. Where once William would leave early for engagements, he now stayed until Kate finished her breakfast, coaxing her to eat when the treatments stole her appetite. The palace kitchen, under strict instructions, prepared special meals designed to combat nausea and provide nutrition. "Just 3 more bites," William encouraged one gray morning, holding the spoon himself when her hands shook too much. "I feel like Charlotte when she was learning to eat." Kate managed a weak smile. "Except Charlotte never complained this much," William teased gently, earning him the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her in days. The press had begun to notice. Kate's absence from a major charity gala raised eyebrows. Her withdrawal from a long-planned international tour sparked rumors. The palace communications team was in crisis mode, fielding hundreds of inquiries daily. "Your Royal Highness," Simon, William's private secretary, approached one afternoon with visible anxiety. "The speculation is becoming problematic. The Times is preparing a piece questioning the Duchess's commitment to her duties. Perhaps a statement would—" "No statement," William cut him off sharply. "Not yet." "Sir, with respect, the longer we wait—" "Simon." William's voice carried a note of steel that reminded everyone he was second in line to the throne. "My wife's health is not a press release. When she's ready, we'll address it. Until then, speculation is all they get." Behind closed doors, the battle was intensifying. The second opinion had confirmed the first. Treatment began in earnest. The side effects were brutal. Kate, who had always prided herself on her strength and poise, found herself vulnerable in ways she had never imagined. One particularly difficult night. After a harsh round of treatment, Kate couldn't stop crying, not from pain, but from frustration. Her body, which had carried 3 children and served her so faithfully, now felt like a traitor. "I hate this," she sobbed into William's shoulder. "I hate being weak. I hate that Charlotte asked why Mummy stays in bed. I hate that I missed George's football match. William held her through the storm of emotions, knowing that sometimes the best support was simply presence. When her tears subsided, he spoke quietly. "You're the strongest person I know," he said. "Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting up each time you do. And you do, Kate. Every single day." The children had been told an age-appropriate version of the truth. George, old enough to understand more, had become fiercely protective of his mother. Charlotte brought drawings to cheer her up. Little Louis simply climbed into bed for cuddles, somehow knowing that his presence was medicine in itself. "Mummy, when you're better, can we have a party?" Charlotte asked one afternoon, arranging her stuffed animals around Kate's bed. "The biggest party," Kate promised, smoothing her daughter's hair. "With cake and dancing and everyone we love. And no vegetables," Charlotte added hopefully, making Kate laugh despite everything. The palace staff had rallied in unexpected ways. The usually formal footman left fresh flowers by her door each morning. The housekeeping staff learned to move silently when she rested. Even the stern master of the household had been caught slipping her favorite chocolates into William's briefcase. Dr. Mitchell, the specialist overseeing her care, visited twice weekly. She was a small woman with kind eyes and an iron will that matched Kate's own. "You're responding well to treatment," she announced during one visit. "Better than we hoped, but you must rest. Real rest, not the royal rest where you answer correspondence and review briefings." "She's terrible at resting," William informed the doctor. "Yesterday I caught her trying to work on her early years report." "Traitor," Kate murmured, but she squeezed his hand. The turning point came during week 6. Kate woke one morning feeling different. Not cured, not completely well, but better. The crushing fatigue had lifted slightly. The nausea had receded. She managed to eat breakfast without help. "I want to go outside," she announced to William's surprise. "Just the private garden. I need to feel the sun." They walked slowly, William's arm steady around her waist. The October air was crisp, the leaves beginning their autumn transformation. Kate stopped at her favorite bench, the one overlooking the pond where the children fed ducks. "I've been thinking," she said, watching the water ripple, "about going public, about the statement." William tensed. They had discussed this eventuality, but he had hoped to delay it longer. "Not yet," Kate continued, reading his concern. "But soon, when I'm stronger. I want to do it right. Not a press release, something personal, something that helps others." "A video message?" William suggested. "Maybe. Or an interview. Something where people can see that illness doesn't mean the end, that having support makes all the difference." She looked at him. "You've shown me that. You've been my anchor when I felt like I was drowning." "Always," he said simply. Their moment was interrupted by excited voices. The children had been released from their lessons and came running across the lawn, their nanny trying to maintain some semblance of decorum. "Mummy's outside!" Louis shrieked with delight, launching himself at Kate with such enthusiasm that William had to intercept him gently. "Careful with Mummy," he reminded, but Kate was already pulling all 3 children close. "I'm not made of glass," she said, though her eyes thanked William for his protection. They spent an hour in the garden, the children chattering about their day, showing off new accomplishments, competing for their parents' attention. To any observer, they looked like any family enjoying an autumn afternoon. The future king pushing his youngest on the swing, the future queen helping her daughter collect leaves, their eldest son regaling them with stories from school. But William saw the moments others would miss. The way Kate gripped the bench when fatigue washed over her, the deep breath she took before standing, the gratitude in her eyes when he casually suggested they head inside just as her energy flagged. That evening, As the children slept and the palace settled into nighttime quiet, Kate and William sat in their living room, the medical equipment discreetly tucked away, the pill bottles hidden from view. They could almost pretend life was normal. "Thank you," Kate said suddenly. "For what?" "For not letting me disappear into this illness. For making sure I still feel like me. For protecting our children while letting them stay close. For fighting every battle, big and small." "We're not done fighting," William reminded her gently. "I know, but today was a good day, and I wanted to mark it." They sat in comfortable silence, hands entwined, watching the fire flicker in the grate. Outside, the palace guards changed shifts with centuries-old precision. Inside, a modern love story continued to unfold, built on promises kept and strength shared. The road ahead remained uncertain. There would be more bad days, more tears, more moments when the crown felt too heavy to bear alongside personal trial. But there would also be more garden afternoons, more children's laughter, more quiet victories celebrated in private moments. "One day at a time," Kate murmured, their mantra becoming prayer. "One day at a time," William agreed, pulling her closer. The decision to go public came on a January morning when the frost painted delicate patterns on the palace windows. Kate stood before her mirror, truly seeing herself for the first time in months. The woman looking back was different. Thinner, yes, tired around the eyes. But there was something else, something William had noticed weeks before she did. A quiet strength that hadn't been there before, forged in the furnace of trial. "It's time," she told William over breakfast. "I'm ready to share our story." William set down his coffee cup carefully. They had discussed this moment many times, but hearing her say it with such certainty made it real. "Are you sure? There's no rush. The palace can manage the speculation for as long as needed." "It's not about managing speculation anymore," Kate explained, her voice steady. "It's about all the women going through this who think they have to face it alone, who think needing help makes them weak, who believe their worth is tied to being perfect all the time." William recognized the fire in her eyes. It was the same look she had when championing early childhood development, when fighting for mental health awareness. His wife, the advocate, was returning, tempered by personal experience. The palace machinery swung into action, but this time on Kate and William's terms. No rushed statements, no crisis management. Instead, a carefully planned revelation that would serve a greater purpose. Kate spent hours with her team crafting the message. Every word mattered. She wanted honesty without melodrama, hope without false promises, strength that acknowledged vulnerability. The video was filmed in their private garden, the same bench where she had taken her first tentative steps back into the world. William sat beside her, their hands clasped, a visual reminder of the promise he had made months earlier. "I want to share something personal," Kate began, looking directly at the camera. Her voice was calm but carried emotion just beneath the surface. "Over the past several months, I've been undergoing treatment for a health condition. It's been the most challenging period of my life." She spoke for 12 minutes. About the diagnosis that changed everything. About the fear that threatened to overwhelm. About the treatments that tested her limits. But mostly, she spoke about support. William's unwavering presence, the children who gave her reason to fight, the medical team who became extended family, the palace staff who showed kindness in countless ways. "I've learned that needing help isn't weakness," she said, her voice growing stronger. "It's the ultimate act of courage. And having someone say, 'You won't face this alone,' can make the difference between despair and hope." William spoke briefly, his words carefully chosen. "Watching someone you love face illness is its own challenge. You want to fix everything, solve everything. But sometimes the greatest gift is simply being present, being the steady hand when their world shakes." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the video had been viewed millions of times. Messages poured in from around the world, women sharing their own stories, partners describing their journey as supporters, medical professionals praising the honest portrayal of treatment's reality. But it was the private messages that touched Kate most deeply. A young mother in Manchester who had been afraid to tell her family about her diagnosis, now finding courage. A teenager watching her own mother's battle, understanding she could help simply by being there. A husband in Scotland learning that his fierce protectiveness was normal, needed, valuable. "Look at what you've done," William said that evening, showing her the flood of responses. "You've started something important." Kate leaned into him, exhausted but exhilarated. "We started something. I couldn't have found my voice without you helping me remember who I was beneath the fear." The weeks following the announcement brought new purpose. Kate established a foundation specifically for supporting families facing health crises, not just medical support, but emotional scaffolding, programs for children to understand their parents' illness, resources for partners thrust into caregiver roles, advocacy for workplace flexibility during treatment. The first event for the foundation was held in March. Kate stood at the podium in a soft blue dress, her hair shorter now but styled elegantly. The slight tremor in her hands was the only sign of nerves. 8 months ago, she began, I sat in a palace room thinking my world was ending. I thought strength meant facing everything alone. I thought my value lay in being perfect, untouchable, always capable. I was wrong. The audience, patients, families, medical professionals, advocates, listened with the intensity of those who recognized their own journey in her words. "Real strength," Kate continued, "is admitting you need help. It's letting others see you at your weakest. It's accepting that sometimes you can't be everything to everyone. And it's discovering that when you let people in, they don't see weakness. They see humanity." She introduced William, who spoke about the supporter's journey. His words resonated with every partner who had felt helpless watching their loved ones suffer. "You learn to celebrate small victories," he said. "A good day becomes precious. A genuine laugh is triumph. You become an expert at reading subtle signs. When to push, when to rest, when to simply be there. You learn that love isn't just a feeling. It's an action repeated daily." The foundation's work expanded rapidly. Support groups formed across the country. Employers partnered to create better policies for employees facing health challenges. Children's programs helped young ones process complex emotions. One afternoon, Kate visited a support group in London. She sat in the circle, not as a duchess, but as a woman who understood. She listened to stories of fear and hope, struggle and victory. She shared her own moments of despair and breakthrough. "The palace couldn't protect me from this," she told them. "Titles don't shield you from life's trials, but people do. Love does. Refusing to let someone face darkness alone does." After the meeting, a woman approached her quietly. "Your Highness," she began, then stopped. "No, that's not right. Kate, thank you. My husband has been trying to help, but I kept pushing him away. Thought I was protecting him. Your story helped me see I was just making us both more alone." Kate embraced her, protocol forgotten. "Let him in," she whispered. "The burden shared truly is the burden halved." As spring turned to summer, Kate's strength returned fully. The treatments had worked. The prognosis was excellent. But neither she nor William forgot the lessons learned in darkness. Their public appearances took on new depth. When Kate spoke about resilience, people heard the echo of personal experience. When William advocated for family support systems, his passion came from lived truth. One evening, as they tucked the children into bed, Charlotte looked up at her mother with serious eyes. "Mummy, are you all better now?" "I am, darling," Kate assured her. The doctors say I'm doing wonderfully. Good, Charlotte nodded firmly. But if you get sick again, we'll take care of you. Daddy showed us how. Kate's eyes met William's over their daughter's head. In that moment, she saw the full measure of what he had done, not just supporting her, but teaching their children by example that love means showing up, especially when it's hard. Later, in their private sitting room, the same room where this journey began, Kate and William reflected on the months behind them. "Did you ever doubt?" Kate asked. "In the darkest moments, did you ever think we wouldn't make it through?" "Never," William replied without hesitation. "Not once. Scared? Yes. Overwhelmed? Absolutely. But doubt? No. We made promises to each other long before we made them to the crown. Those promises matter more." "I want to write a book," Kate said suddenly. "Not a royal memoir, a practical guide. What to expect, how to cope, how to support. Something people can hold on to when they're sitting in waiting rooms or lying awake at night." "Another project?" William teased gently. "The foundation, your existing charities, royal duties." "I know, but this feels important. Necessary, even." "Then we'll make it happen," he said simply. "Together." Together, the word that had become their talisman. Together through diagnosis and treatment. Together through fear and hope. Together in sharing their story to light the path for others. The book would be written. The foundation would grow. Lives would be touched and changed. But in that quiet moment, in the room where their trial began, Kate and William simply held each other, grateful for promises kept and love proven in the crucible of challenge. Outside, London sparkled with nighttime lights. Inside the palace, a future king and queen had discovered that their greatest power lay not in crowns or titles, but in the simple, revolutionary act of refusing to let each other face life's battles alone.